Do not kill each other. You know, I woke up today thinking that my heart was not gonna get broken. And I was lied to. Why the fuck is the camera not working now? You were working fine literally 3 minutes ago. What happened? Yeah, welcome to stream. Nothing can go right. Oh god, I didn't. Fuck, everything's going wrong. Oh, there we go.
I roll with a crew of problematic bachelors, and we call ourselves the Squad.
Camilla Leo, thank you so much for the follow. How's your day? How's everything going? Thank you so much. Oh my god, y'all actually get to see my reaction to this. That is still so loud. How are you doing? I'm doing really well. I'm just vibing. I usually don't stream Saturdays, but I was like, fuck it. I'm probably going to be messed up by the end of the night, and I'm probably not going to stream tomorrow. So you get very early stream. My cats were here. I don't know where they were. They were like the peak of the things, but I don't know. Welcome to Minecraft. Why are you so big still? There we go. Tiny boy. Thank you again so much for the follow. We're going to play Minecraft. Now, you see, I am not a normal Minecraft person. I play in creative mode. Because I just like it better. I don't like the stress of playing hardcore. Shut the fuck up, phone. Actually, hold up. This is a Twitter notification. Oh, thank you so much for the follow on my Twitter. Notice out of the corner of my eye. Huh. Looking at everything while this loads. Wow, okay. Being spicy today. Yeah, so welcome to my creative world where I just build shit. Also, I have moon blooms. They're kind of expanding. And I may or not have a withering one held hostage. No question. Yeah, as of recently, I've been working on this build. And of course I go into the fucking lights. Which again, I know there's a shit ton of mobs, but I built like a little like, but the little galaxy area. So that's what been my main focus. I know everything is like still fucking spawning here. It's fine. Where's the boy? There's the boy. There he is. What is his name? Barry Blue Jeans Jr. He best boy. Yeah, and here we just trapped a bunch of shit. That is a wood shop, and then here is a little fancy enchantment room. I should have made these connect all the way to the top, but it's fine. Cool. Yeah. Did the Phantom Wings kill me? Yep. So yeah, I woke up today not expecting to cry, and then I check in and I was like, oh, Phil and Nikki are streaming, which are two streamers I really enjoy. I did not expect to cry! And then I just go on Twitter. More sadness. I'm so sad they lost their one eye quality. They used to be so cute, and then they lost their one quantity that made them adorable for me. Oh god. Hey, thanks, Wayward, for pinning the YouTube video. Wayward said, if I'm gonna do my job, I'm doing it well. Every day I come in here and just more animals are in here. Every day. Every day. There it is. I had to. That would have been so bad if it fell in lava. Yeah, we did not think this was as close. How the fuck did you get there? There's 2 of you! What the hell are we listening to? Please tell me the mother did not just fall. She can get back up. Just very gently put the animal down. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I think she's going in fire. Up and Adams, we're doing an animal rescue. Oh goodness, why is there so many of you down here? Alright, come on. Get. Where's the other one? There you are. Up and Adams. Striders. Hello, I found more children. I don't know how the fuck so many of them have arrived, but they did. No, I think we're gonna take a break for that, and we're gonna go hop in the end, because I do want to finish that end build that I have. I don't know when you got fucked up and got turned, but oh god. Hello. Glidey mode. I need to find the VODs for all of these. I actually want to do a series on like how I built this world. Yeah, welcome to the end. Oh god damn it. Leave. Leave the pit. I'm not even trying to kill you fucks. I'm trying to get you out of the pit. That worked. That didn't work out planned. There would have been a different plan. Alright. Yeah, like I tiled the stream like to see my cats and my kids, but then they like disappeared. I was like, God damn, y'all left me. We'll see a loaf in a little bit. But let's do this floor how I want to do this. Because this one I might actually... What if I just type in glass? Magenta. We're going to switch between the two. I could have made this a little bit more bigger, but I like this shape. Some light over here. Okay, cool. Damn, why do we have the sad music playing? Building mode activated. Maybe popping a light right there. Because why not? Oh. Yeah, let's get 2 faded lights in here. Why not? There we go. Alright. That was actually a complete accident. I meant to go around my mouse. Or around my mic. Why am I doing that? I haven't even finished planning this. Brain chill. We know you've done a bunch of shit. This is girl in red. I got stuck in a light, didn't I? Yeah, I'll switch between the purple and magenta and we'll see how that looks. This doesn't look good. I'm actually going to be kind of heartbroken, but it'll be fine. Pure. Okay, you would be able to tell if I fucked it up. That's nice. As much as I love this music, fuck it. It should be my search. Lovejoy, fuck it. Because we all need some Lovejoy, even though I fucking keep getting copyrighted for it. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's gonna look cool as hell. And the pubs are empty, they're closing up. Turning up the music for this. Hope the salt water ruins your clothes, and I hope you spend the rest of your life sleeping alone. All this over a kiss. You weren't there while you pressed by this. Now it's done in 3 in the morning. The bouncers. I'm not leaving. I don't care what you need. All this. Oh, it's all just a game. It's all just the same. Having my way. Sleep on the concrete. Don't. That was my voice dying. Wow. All this. I'm not sure. Not sure they let you off easily. All I'm saying is stuff from the window pane without wanting to hit you. No, we'll see how this works. We'll see how this looks in the end. What the? So why are you pressed by this? Not leaving. You don't care what you need. All this. Oh, it's all just a game. It's all just a game. Out of it my way. Sleep on the concrete. Don't say to me all this. Not sure. Not sure they let you off easily. I should have actually, like, measured this so in case, like, I accidentally fuck up. So that hopefully one of the layers is fucking glass. Oh, that actually looks really fucking cool. Hold up, that looks sick. Oh, that's gonna look really cool at the end. You know, that's fine. It can have just a little, like, lift in. We're gonna do that. We're just gonna do the double layer on top. You look dreadful. Why you resort to saying chance they're gonna hurt you when it's fuck all else to do. On my headdress, you can knock the out of my breath. Teeth into my head. It's no cause for concern. What's it to you? Down another 8 ball. I haven't even got the cube. You look dreadful. What you resort to. So we ain't gonna hurt you. What else to do? Teeth out of my breath. Teeth into my head. No cause for concern. What? The fuck was that? We're gonna hurt you. We're gonna hurt you. We're gonna hurt you. It's fuck all else to do. That already looks really cool. Cause for that was nice. There's no cause for concern. There's no cause for concern. Think he realize that he's infatuated with idea possessions and far from social policies. His daddy works on the council. Isn't love a silver spoon? While she never kissed the Tory, this boy was too good to lose. I listen carefully. Ears pressed to the floor as you make your way downstairs. You haven't got far to fall. Now it's red, now it's dead, now it's everything she needs. Now it's all open doors. Now it's a sad, sucker suffer to ensure happy ending. I'm just still looking over and just seeing like my YouTube link just pinned. Thanks, Wayward. Lights on, but she's not there. No, she's going to his flat. The Capricorn, oh fuck that. They say sex sells, I know that. Been scared of sleeping with the lights on, but she's not there. No, it's flat. The Capricorn, oh fuck that. They say sex sells, I know that. You can't buy my silence if you've got none to lose. If you still infatuated with the truth, so will you do what's easy, or will you do what's right? Could you let me know where we're gonna sleep tonight? We're gonna sleep tonight. Are we gonna sleep tonight? We're gonna sleep tonight. We're gonna sleep tonight. Gonna sleep at night. We're gonna sleep at night. Cold treatment. Conditions. Red wine and club deck. Viagra pills on the nightstand. How's it feel? How's it feel to be so loved? How's it feel to be so loved yet so alone? Scared of sleeping with the lights on, but she's not there, no. Come on, oh fuck that. They say sex sells, I know that. Scared of sleeping with the lights on, but she's not there. Hello? They say sex sells, I know that. Scared of sleeping with the lights on, but she's not there now. Capricorn, oh fuck that. So I know that. It looks so cool! I sleep at night. Also, I love how I ended stream yesterday and I just get an immediate message from Ware being like, hey, you do know you fell asleep on stream, right? And I went, what? Which is very funny because that's the first time I've actually seen myself like fall asleep in that way. Because I was like, oh yeah, I know there's like periods in the day where I like, oh yeah, I'll just go to sleep without realizing I fell asleep. That's the first time I've just seen myself just go, nah. You can also see my body just sink into itself, which I think is even funnier. Go with Nick. Took it as a taunt. Anybody ever say no to you? Oh, did anybody ever say no to you? Oh, I have a clue. Anybody ever say no to you? Oh, did anybody ever say no to you? Oh. Oh god, isn't it 10 more until I have to do the fucking thing? Pretty sure I made a tweet about something at like 2:50. Please tell me it's not actually. Anybody ever say no to you? Say no to you. Oh. Where's the tweet? I have to find it. I have to find this tweet. Before I continue everything else, I have to find this fucking tweet. I have to go through 120... I have to go through 1,000 something tweets. I'm a chaotic bullshit. Took it as a taunt. And the casual just tap my shit. It's 3:45 a.m. and I just bite my tongue. Undid me on your life, and now you found the one. I don't like his eyes, and I just list the names. And I hate that haircut. You just got a prick, but it's all the same. You drafted me to cry. Your tongue is razor sharp. I miss saying goodbye, but let your heart on standby. The way he holds you, and he serenades you. I can't really blame you. God, I like zoned back in for a hot second. Rub off on you. And still smell a perfume. Rub off on you. Your ex-boyfriend's a policeman. I say he needs better standards. Say your boyfriend's a policeman. I say you need better standards. It seems like all her friends abruptly fell in love. She was in the dust, darling, life was streaming past. She learned to lie, she learned how to pretend. Drama in the futile, it means to an end. Got you be a dick. Why must you be so nice for me to move on when I don't really hate you? That needs to become a pin thing. Oh, fuck me. When was it 250? Oh god, it is 10 more. I meant to retweet it, not add it to the thread. Fuck. Oh yes, I love just hearing random ass noises come through my headphones. That's completely normal. It's 3:45. Bro, can I fucking, you know, retweet one of my tweets? Is it just looping? I just bit my tongue. Oh, cool. I was like, I threw it on shuffle. Why is that replaying? Alright, that was just a different song that literally just played and I'm being crazy. Lost the passion that comes with living. Since I started university. Took a geography course to learn their date lines and maybe use a sextant. Now I just press facsimile. Exactly where you want it to be. That's what you say. If you wanna watch TV and sleep all day and lay in bed, but you're forgetting that I gotta go to work and eat my... pay my rent and reproduce and feed those kids and maybe use a sextant. I don't miss you. I miss the thought of what we were. 'Cause this is the bar where I shut up and let you infest my brain. Alright, cool. I'm like a fucking disease. I'll make a home in your gut. Somewhere I want to sleep. Shit. She thought when you realized you'll never feel nice. Was it sickness or... dating apps, flying, just another man, whether he is inside than beside you. He's talking marriage and a future, picking a lock he doesn't go into. He's a suture. I don't miss the thought of what we were. 'Cause this is the part where I shut up and let you infest my brain. My cortex let you in and let you drain. Oh, you will never get rid of me. fucking disease. I'll make a home in your gut. Somewhere warm to sleep. It's okay. Okay. It's okay. I think that when I'm done with this world, I might make this downloadable. The one sad thing is it probably will have to be with like the texture pack and stuff. Okay. I was about to say, are we missing a floor? Ow, my finger just slipped behind my earring. Ow, that hurt. Are you fucks just going back and forth and pitting this fucking thing? Wow, okay. There's so many grass blocks just around. Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure they don't have like the... They don't. Anybody ever say no to you? Oh, I was about to say, if I accidentally hit that, I'm gonna cry. Think I have a clue. That honestly looks really fucking cool. Table. That looks so pretty! I, again, forgot to say that I'm live on TikTok. Fuck me. It's fine. We don't worry about it. We'll worry about that shit later. Your brain's ick. Listener, I'm a listener. Did anybody ever say no to you? Or... Excuse me. Anybody ever say no to you? Whoa. I had a block being placed. Can anyone even pick up glass? I love just seeing all the dirt blocks just being placed around. It's really funny to me. That was me in the ass to figure out how to put in. Under the weight of a broken nose. It's not that simple, but he won't seem to notice. More to this. It's already boring. Fuck. And the rebels will say, it's a marvelous view. We don't know how many lives it took, no. We're so calm, but we're fucking scared, fucking scared. Fucking scared, fucking scared. We're so calm, but we're fucking scared, fucking scared. We're so calm, but we're fucking scared of people like you. Feliz, full Prozacs. That must be more to lose. Does this one count to you? Marvelous view. Touch moves. Platonic misuse. Oh. So, come on one and all and see the apathy, the race and grace and souls to build a tapestry. I look to all of you and see a different fucking species, aspiration for a different destination to me. Cross the bed line, a big new knife, a knife in the mall. If it's something, it wasn't also half my fault. So not so high. There's like half of these lyrics I don't fucking understand, no matter how often I look up the lyrics. It's like, I love this song, but what the fuck are the lyrics? Said I understand when I'm older. Said I understand the things they do. You fall asleep on a shoulder in the break room. Falls asleep on a shoulder in the break room. Been sad for too long. No shit, can you tell us something new? He was lying cause his lips move. You can tell he's lying cause his lips move. Nice to be. Ow. Must be you a motive. I went this long without putting a torch there, really? Motivates you. See you smiling. Light up his whole room. And the kind of things they do to you. There's only cameras. And your dark secret. Talking in your sleep. Again, such a good ass song. Ran from the kitchen. Tip you if it healed you. They would tip you if it healed you. Pressure did they put on you? What kind of pressure did they put on you? It's waiting for you. Day. I hear your eyes. That's what I want. You stole from him yesterday. So cute when you're so angry. I'm going down, you're coming with me. Gets better. Just wait until next week. Keeping your dark secret. Talking in your sleep. That looks really cool. I'm actually really glad this worked out. I had to. Oh my god, why the fuck are you? What the fuck? Why are all... Which one of you named a playlist Christmas? Why did one of you just name a playlist called Christmas because screw you? Why? Hey, yeah, I just bite my tongue and take me on your life. Now you found the one that I don't like his eyes, and I just searched the name, and I hate the heck out of it. They look like a brick, but it's all the same. Drafted me to cry. Your tongue is razor sharp. Miss swearing we're bye-bye. Left your heart on standby by the way he holds you, and he serenades you. I can't really blame you, but I can still sell her perfume. Didn't rub off on you. Still smell her perfume. Didn't rub off on you. Say your ex-boyfriend's a policeman. Say you need better standards. You say your ex-boyfriend's a policeman. I say you need better standards. It seems like all her friends abruptly fell in love, and she was in the dust. Darling, life was streaming past, so she learned to lie. She learned how to pretend. The drama and the futile, it means to an end. Why can't you be a dick? Why must you be so nice? It's time for me to move on when I don't really hate you. Can't relate. Perfume. Yay! We're on the last layer of the light. We're on the last layer of the light. No, we're not. We have one more layer. We have two more layers, technically. I was so happy for nothing. I hope you're prepared for nothing. Damn, there'll be some spots you just look and just be like, wow, I barely even touched this bitch. What do you want? I think you can actually tell where they took the grass from. There has to be some areas where you can obviously just see. Yeah, I think they took one from right there. Yep. It's 2:45. Taxi's not arrived. Don't think it is coming. Oh my god, they have the grass blocks. What? Those blocks down? Damn. Damn, it really said we're gonna play the same Lovejoy songs over and over again. The rebels will say, marvelous view. Don't know how many lives it took and own. Oh, I'm fucking scared, fucking scared. Fucking scared, fucking scared. Fucking scared, fucking scared. Fucking scared of people like you. Ow. Got to marvelous view. Miss you so. So, come on, one and all, and see the apathy, the recent grace and souls to build a tapestry. I look to all of you and see a different fucking species, aspiration for a different destination to me. Across the bed lines, big blue night and night in a mall isn't something that wasn't also half my fault. I know it's a knife and I know I said night, don't need to come at me for that shit. I don't think Love One Day. Oh my god. I was about to say, I don't think any of these have played yet. Did you have to kill my cat? Why'd I have to take you back? Time and time to play the end path. Oh my god, y'all actually got the Adrenal SMP trending. Phil said he won't be returning to season 2 of the Adrenal SMP with the current memory loss storyline to preserve techno memories. He said he might come back during later on. He just doesn't like how it is. Yeah, there we go. Inconsistent. Oh baby, isn't life so fucking inconsistent? Oh, I'm actually really sad that's why they left. Damn, I did not expect you to come on here and fucking cry. I passed out. What the fuck do you mean survived? I'm sorry, I had to. Twitter, I fucking love Twitter, man. Fucking inconsistent. Stop. Why'd you have to kill my cat? Why'd I have to take you back? Okay, maybe they did play Lovejoy. My brain's just so fucking far gone, I just haven't realized it. Sun and an empty, but they fucking did. I remember just literally muttering this. That looks fucking cool. I'll focus on the future, baby, one day. Oh, baby, isn't life so fucking... Never mind, get back in my inventory. I don't know why I put that away. This one gets everything lit. Consistent. Talk about what I want to do, 'cause all I want to do is turn back time. We stuck a couple Tuesdays before I find one life tattoo. I said it last time, but I'm not afraid of empty bows. I'm afraid of new perfume, but in fact, my dear, I'm fucking terrified. I know that you will be there one day. I'll focus on the future, baby, one day. Fucking inconsistent. That you will be there one day. I'll focus on the future, baby, one day. Fucking inconsistent. Know that I know that you will be there one day. Oh baby, isn't life so fucking... Is it magenta and then purple? Yep. Cool. One day, oh baby, isn't life so fucking inconsistent? Oh my god, it's just like we're playing The Fall. Casually just cracks my neck on stream, why not? I don't think this is supposed to be Bedrock. Nothing to see there. So calm, but we're fucking scared. I don't know. I'll do one more layer just in case, so then I don't get a fucking heart attack if I fall. Does this one count to you? Don't I miss you so? So come on, wait all and see the apathy, erasing grace and souls to build a tapestry. I look to all of you and see a different fucking species, aspiration for a different destination to me. Like you night and no, I just, wow. I know it's a knife in a mall. I know that's the line. My brain just does not compute that fast. Of that is the goddamn line. If it's The Fall again, I'm switching to a different playlist. Actually, I have an idea. See, top layer being the easiest because we've already done this so many times. I don't listen to this song enough. So I was like, I barely know it. I hate that I go quiet when I'm building, but my brain's just like so focused. Yes. Okay. 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 Okay, 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 okay. What's the passion that comes with living? Since I started university, took a geography course to learn the date lines and maybe use a sextant. I just press facsimile. Exactly where you want it to be. That's what you say. You wanna watch TV and sleep all day and lay in bed, but you're forgetting that I've gotta go to work and eat my food, pay my rent and reproduce and feed those kids and use a sextant. I don't miss the thought of what we were. I shut up and let you in. There we go. And then it's just a little boop. Let me take the pretty particle colors, goddamn. Yeah. But the end build is fucking done. I should have done like a full review. It's fine. You crack my neck. I also need more water. I'll be back. I'm gonna get water. I'm gonna get water because we need to hydrate. You don't have water, go fucking hydrate. Oh. Oh my god. No, I just looked at like I was like looking at Abyss stuff and I'm just like looking through. Why is Kendake and Hazel like 0.1? Oh my god. Why is Dory used more? My goodness. Yeah, of course fucking Zhongli is 84. Everyone who bitched about Nahida being bad, dude, she's 70.2. Again, she has valid reasons to be disliked. But Jesus Christ. Did you really say go fuck yourself, mate? Can you dye me hair? I'm gonna make fun of him for that. But yeah, water sign. You also get a very cool fit check. Alright, cool.
Whoever decided to put their hands on my kids, please come outside so I can peacefully break your legs.
I roll with a crew of problematic bachelors, and we call ourselves the Squad. I roll with a crew of problematic bachelors, and we call ourselves the Squad.
Here. Oh, hi, Tubbs. Damn! I literally left to go get water! Hi! Hello! Hi! Hello! My god! Like to share. Thank you so much. Thank you. The song is Lovejoy. Damn! I literally went down and I texted. I was like, imagine if like I fucking get raided while I'm down here. You... There we go. Yay! W. I really walked out. I was thinking, I was like, hello, Club Penguin fan. Hello. Hi, everyone. How was the stream? Yeah, no, I was downstairs. I was like, imagine if I get raided. Wait, y'all get to see the floof. Y'all get to see Loaf. Hey, Barry. Oh, he left. Oh, where did my kid go? No. Loaf was here. He was on the bed. I'm gonna go steal my cat back then. He was on the chair. He disappeared. Where the fuck did my cat go? Where did my son go? Man just faded. Man just... My man went to the back room. Great time for a raid for real. Honestly. Blood's here and Club Hanger Fan 69. Thank you so much for the follow. But hi. Alright, welcome. I know you get another Minecraft stream. No, but you see, I'm a creative person. So I play in creative mode. So which means I don't gotta build for shit. I literally just finished the end raid too, so I was like, let me go get water, and I finished that shit. Oh my god, he's free. He's free. Imagine that's just another ass chicken. Yeah. Hi, guys! Finally got to meet the insane person. I love how Tubbs just fucking yells at me. Webcam stream. Webcam stream! Yeah! You will also not believe what my webcam is on. I want... My webcam is on something. You know what? Oh, hello, good sir. No, you guys get to see the end build. Friar. No. It's on a fucking lamp. I would put my webcam on a lamp. I'll see y'all 100%. Yeah. Welcome to the end build. While I look for something really quickly. There it is. There's a new YouTube video up. You like me screaming at Genshin and skipping important lore? There you go. But yeah, welcome to the end build. This shit took way too long. You got a block. In Minecraft most of the time I'm creative too because I cannot build in survival. Yeah. I just don't like the stress of hardcore because I know I'm gonna be a dumbass and fucking die. So I was like, I would just much rather, you know, vibe and just do all this shit and not have to worry about fucking dying in the end. Well, goodbye. Also, my end is so pretty. Nah. You're just bad. Also that, I'm shit. I'm actually very terrible at hardcore. But also, there are some hardcore worlds where I played on, and I just take the world seed and just use it for something else. But also, I have bullshit luck when it comes to those things, so. Oh yes, the Minecraft bow that should not exist. Just a reminder, you lost 50 sub ones to villagers. Oh? 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 Thank you for the blackmail. I was like, wait, I gifted 50 subs. What? What did I do? Hi, baby. Look. Man's deleting evidence. Why is there a sponge in here? Yeah, you did. I was just reminding you lost 50 subs once. Of course! I support my friends. Or though. Another blocks. Go in there. The amount of I was like, the amount of bows I just have in here because the amount of skeletons fucking that get murked by me. Skill issue. Hey up, my guy. Casually breaks people's mind with purple wood. Casually just breaks people's mind with it. What was the first world? What was the first real build I did in this world? Oh, it was a library! this? I built an entire library. I cannot be rude if you thank me. That's our son. He was saying thank you to me. Penguin. Yeah, I built an entire library underground. Surprisingly enough, this ravine was under here. I just followed the shape of it. That's gonna bother me and I'm gonna forget about it soon. I have so many builds in this. Goddamn. Hello, sheep. The random bed you can see. Wait, where's the moon blooms? Oh my god, you fucking multiplied since last time I've been here. Look at them. Look at the children. Oh, hello. Hi. Sally, I don't know if bees are friends with them. Well, fucking... Three bees. No, they're not. That would have been cool. I know who's in them. Oh. This is why I don't get rid of this. This is why I don't get rid of this texture pack. I love these cows. They are the best boys. This is why I always play. This is why I always go for like flower biomes, because they spawn in. They're here naturally. What are you doing up there? Yes, we have the nether one kind of captured, but that's fine. It's fine, we don't worry about him. I build way too much on this godforsaken world. Don't ask. Do not ask. Okay, shut the fuck up, farm animals. Do not understand that do not go through the portal. Did any of your fucking children die? Shut the fuck up, Ghast. Ah, yes, the haste effect. Welcome in. I still have no idea how the fuck to get out of this thing normally. My child? Where's the bat? Where's the bat? I was like, can I please go into creative mode? I'll just stay long about it. It's being weird to have the girls stream. Bye bye. Bye, Club Penguin. Thank you so much for stopping by. Is it here? Spectator mode. Fuck it. Y'all didn't see me spell that wrong. You didn't see shit. Why do I do this myself? Why do I have so many stupidly insane builds? And why is the Iron Golem almost fucking dead? I was like, I don't think I'm here enough for you to be dying this fucking much. Oh, have fun. You're not getting out of that water. Man's living. He's fine. So the peace of... Oh, did all my snow golems die? I think they all did. Sad. This was not fun to build. This took like a year. Hi, Dom. Hi, Justin. God, why are we singing Mariah Carey? decide to do a stupidly long progress like this, I want you to send one. Why are we singing Mariah Carey? I want someone to figuratively slap me if I ever come up with a stupid idea to do something like this again. I'm also never gonna get over that this somehow became squarish. Oh yeah, it's just a very exaggerated square. It works out fine. Minecraft logic. I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill her. As much as I love Lovejoy, I love their music. It just gets annoying after hearing it after a while. I read that so wrong. Anyways, hi. Hi! How you doing, mate? Hello, world. Why are these chests still here? That's why. When did I put the dragon head in here? God, oh god, this was a long thing. Look inside of me and see that I am not afraid. For a second I thought that the axolotl spawn egg. My soul and where it's made. Damn. Is your avatar Santa? No. Actually, I could just plop that in there. This small thing. The Minecraft chest is just full on fucking bullshittery. In creation, both haunted and holy, made in glory. Even the depths of the night cannot blind me. You guide me. Alright, there we go. We're taking a bunch of shitloads of trips. Fuck it. Also that. Baby. What? Yes? Hello? Eggs. Just eggs. Mob drops. I know I have a chest just of colored blocks. Acceptance itchy. Even the depths of the night cannot blind me. You guide me. Oh, thank God. I actually no longer have to go to the end. Whoa! We're free. Why did I immediately do that? Enchanted cities, nature. Ocean. You tell me. God, the amount of lodestones I have. No, thank you. Okay, cool. I love just showing off all the wood ties I have in this and breaking people's minds. Actually, didn't they just add a new one, I think? Dark Oak is the best one. I'll die on this hill. That's acacia wood. That is this wood normally. That is this wood normally. I have no idea. We don't open that chest. You go in there. You 100% go in there. That's enchanted bottles, lights, random shit. Random shit. Actually, we know that can go in tools. Drops that random arrow, I see you. You can go in ocean. Okay, cool. Oh, wow, I cannot type today. Structure. Leave me for somebody else. Choice, choice. The fact that they have different commands for each of these is kind of scary. My God. I don't think this is the right thing. It's not! Y'all don't see me. Ooh, ow. Oh, they're not there being a dolphin. Why is there multiple dolphins nearby? Oh, I know exactly where I am. That was not the right command. Mm. Here's will throw me underground. Hell yeah. Perfect. We're moving everything in here. Cyan, emeralds. We're gonna have fun clearing this shit out. It works, it's fine. I have way too many deaths in this one world. That's just because I do slash killing myself way too often. Colored blocks. Ocean. Valuables. Emerald block. Bottles. I don't have any bottles. That can go in there. Actually, where's the lighting chest? Go in there. I still have ocean stuff. We're out with those. Yeah, this is gonna be the miscellaneous chest. This is just where all the shit goes. And then, nope. You are tools. They're supposed to be in weapons. There we go. Curse of Vanishing, power, efficiency. That's fine. The axe can stay in there. Oh, fuck. Oh, I don't have things including you. I have an obscene amount of iron, I just realized. I don't even care if that's bad. We're putting it in there. Mob drops, wheat, rock cod goes on the bottom. Because I'm the bitch who likes to separate her raw food, their raw food. End blocks. You know, obsidian can get down there for a little bit. Some wheat. Tools. We'll throw in another fucking flint and steel. I need to remember to actually take those things out. Actually, shit, hold up. I need to leave something. Roof, there's blood on the floor. It's cold. Seriously, I came in, I saw my cat, and I was like, okay, good, the floof is here. And then I see the raid. What is stopping? I'm gonna go hunt down my cat. We're gonna go hunt down a floof. We're gonna hunt down a Lofi. Need my jacket, because this thing makes so much noise. Oh, hello there. Oh, come here, boy. Found the loaf. If y'all want to know why the stream is called The Loaf and Gucci are here and being bothersome, this is why. They are my sons. Well, this is Sushi. He's just my kid, so. He just hangs out. You guys were in here earlier, and then yeah. But everyone who is new to chat, this is Sushi, or Puppy, or Loaf. He just develops more names. But But he is my son and we love him. Okay. Go right there. He accidentally clawed my chair. Oh, fuck. Baby. Baby boy. Oh, nope, goodbye. I was like, he's been in here long enough. He's been in here long enough where if he wanted to leave, he can leave. I just realized you've not been seeing what music has been playing. I'm so sorry. Maybe that's why the Spotify kept going back to the fall, because that was the last song that was playing. There we go. That's fixed. Got that right over there. Cool. I love how you can just tell where I am because of the fucking beacon. I am out the wrong direction. Yes, burn, bitch. There we go. Hello, my older son. Hello. There's a piece of hair in my eye. Sushi got his revenge on me dragging him here. He got his revenge. Hi! My goodness, you are so chirpy! You're like IRL. Where's animals? That's right here. Now we'll throw the ink sacs in there, the leads. What the fuck is in trade? Oh. I think I just had a chest for when I just, like, had trade items. Actually, wait, no. One there. That entire mountain fucking mining out hurt, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, why did that wall look like I didn't fucking place anything? What are you? That one can go in the ocean. I have a snow chest somewhere. There it is. farming. The bone meal can go in there. You can go in nature. You can go in there. I do not give a fuck. Just for all the glass. For all the fuck. Oh my god. There's a block of iron. That's not snow, dumbass. Just because. Fuck it. That can go in there. And objects and crystals. I didn't fucking put the back dice. Welcome to, I'm severely ADHD brained. And then iron tools can, my god. Kind of anger you cannot place, like... Go in there. Valuables. And mob drops. Flint can go in there. Cool. I swear to God. Oh, fuck that one flint and steel. I was like, I swear to God, I threw something in there. I made this really aesthetically pleasing to look at. Alright. Cool, 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 cool. The babies. That's a pig. Yeah, I love this texture pack, man. So we're gonna Enderman probably place that down. There's more of the babies. I'm pretty sure that's also the last villager in this village. Because I think everyone else is pretty much fucking dead. Oh. Hello, Twitter. I'm live for almost 2 hours. I'll probably end at like 5. Oh god. Forgot I was flying. Chicken. I'm kind of actually kind of sad that they like removed the void. things from that. But I think they're updating all the armors. The fire that started out of this by accident. Actually, we have not... I was like, I'm pretty sure I have a building here. I do. The Army of Wolves. How many of you guys? I can't. I'm a college student. TwitchCon fucking says no. Another little enchantment room. I was gonna do more with this. I just kind of forgot about it in favor of other builds. Baby, I need to take you home. We already have the dragon egg. Are the bats named? No, they're just naturally spawning bats. Oh fuck yeah, we got naturally generating bats in here? The bat mother is... I'm really sticking up to my name. That's another place I can really go stop by. Ooh. Let's go see the winter cabin I built. I can build some stuff over there. There we go. Oh yeah, here's where all like the new things come in. I love how the wind sounds in this game. Makes my brain a little bit burrish. It's the fact that like half my game is like struggling to load and I'm just like, we're just gonna fucking vibe. We got the Aurora lights going. God, having level 3 rockets is a fucking blessing. There it is. This episode was just fucking around with builds. Like building styles. I'm gonna add more to this. It's gonna happen. I forgot about like everything else. Yeah, I basically just built a little winter area. Because I was like, I want to have a winter house where I can just go to during Christmas and just do stuff with. I fucking hate strays. I forgot how terrifying they look. And then I have a really janky ass portal. Because why not? Oh, of course, I saw him near a ghast. Oh, cool. There's multiple ghasts near me. That's great. This is, like, not the best spawn. But we'll work with it. Because it's now my goal to try to find a moon bloom. Or the mushroom biomes. That's gonna be a next stream thing. Why? Because it's almost 5 o'clock. And I want to get some food before I go out. Yeah, we'll end off on the pretty lights. But alright. Thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you so much for the raid. It was fun. I like this peak stream. Peak stream of me just going downstairs being like, hey, what if I get raided? But it works. Alright. Who is live and vibing? See you later. Hi, Z! Welcome in! Okay, I was like, I heard something unplugged, not realizing my fucking mic went out. We're just gonna vibe with the music. My mic said no. Someone's doing a charity stream. Charity stream people have my full heart. All clear. But yeah. We are rating Lovely Gracie. They are doing a charity stream for suicide awareness. So yeah. I might be here tomorrow. I might not be. We'll see how that goes. If not, it's gonna be early like this. Cause I do enjoy some early ass streams, but also I might be, you know, going to the store and just being a person. Bye bye Sush. I will definitely tell the Sush. No, it was so funny. I started the stream because I was like, oh, both my cats are in here. They're gonna be bothersome. They disappear. But we got a Sush sighting. But yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes. But in the meantime, bye!